Hello, everyone. This is Annie. So, today we begin a brand new book series, and we are going to read the biography of Meghan Markle as portrayed by British biographer Tom Bower. So, as always, we look at these biographies for educational purposes as we grow in our own writing journey, but it's also, to delve into the characters that are portrayed in these biographies and memoirs. And Tom Bower, to me, as well as Meghan Markle, are interesting because, number one, obviously, Tom Bower has had a series of really successful biographies, and I have read Revenge, which was the prequel to this upcoming biography on Meghan Markle and the House of Sussex. So, and he's had others. He's had other biographies which were really bestsellers, and so his writing style I find quite interesting, and I think that we can learn a great deal from it because Bower is a qualified attorney, and you will notice that with many of his writing, he generally doesn't name his sources, but he clearly has good sources because he always has interesting revelations in his books. So we are going to read some of the excerpts from his upcoming. In fact, today we'll read an excerpt from his upcoming biography, and you will have opportunity to see evidence of this. So he's got good sources. He's got great nuggets of information, and his information is always insightful. And for me, it's quite interesting how he never really mentions his sources, but clearly they're good ones, because the information he provides is always insightful, and he can back it up in court, because this is a huge factor when you write biographies, and be they authorized or unauthorized, you have to go through the necessary legal process, or go through legal due diligence. And in this case, he is writing about Meghan Markle and the House of York and the royal family, and it's not necessarily an authorized biography, and so it comes with huge risk legally and reputationally and financially, but I think more so, he as an attorney should know firsthand that, in the event that he's sued, obviously he needs to provide the evidence to back up the bombshell claims made in his books, and I would imagine that it's no different. That's in this instance, in this upcoming title, I'm sure it will be full of interesting little nuggets, because I had no knowledge of Meghan Markle before her marriage into the royal family or the um, the media circus before her wedding to to Harry, um, one of the sons of the late Princess Diana, um, and she, of course, has proven to be a polarizing figure. You know, which is and is the main subject of Bauer's book, and yes, and I found out more about Meghan's background by going and reading Revenge. And if you want me to go back and read that for you in the channel, I will gladly do so. Or we can have a separate sort of forum for that, and I'll provide more background information. But it is so insightful, you know, it really sort of delves into Meghan's background and how she basically whitewashed her past, you know, in order to socially climb into royalty and Hollywood stardom, because she was basically unknown before being thrust into public scrutiny through her wedding with Harry, or to Harry. So so yes, she's a polarizing figure. You know, I must say, at first I sympathized deeply with Meghan, but the more I went and sort of read about her, especially through the eyes of Bauer, she's not exactly innocent, you know, in this scenario. As I'm sure, you know, none of the parties or the key figures involved in the entire dynamic are, but she cannot exactly sit there and assume that she's covered in glory and everybody else is the problem. You know, she has to ask serious questions of herself if she would love to see her image improved. Because she's got a very low likability rating, and in fact, that is what the polls are showing. So, despite all of the opportunities she has been given, and a lot of it is by her own making, and we'll find out more about this by through the series I want to do. And so I want us to begin with the serialization of Bauer's upcoming title release. And so just as an aside, this is also an interesting case study, you know, the serialization approach in and of itself, because it's a good way to create, you know, momentum pre-release and get those orders. And that's the thing. If you want to pre-order the book, you can go onto the platforms and do so. I will link all of the details in the description. So Meghan, yes, a polarizing figure. And I want to just add, so that I do not sound one-sided, I also read her the book on which she secretly collaborated with Omid Scobie, the writer Omid Scobie, and this was basically the pushback to Revenge, the initial Bauer release on her, and so this Omid Scobie is another controversial character who went and worked with Meghan behind the scenes, and without the approval of the royal family, released this book. And it is so clear that she collaborated with him because many of the anecdotes and a lot of the content you could just see had to have come from the inside, had to have come from the inside. So this Kobe, as I mentioned, is another controversial character, and we can deal with him in due course. But for purposes of today's video, I want us to then kick off with this excerpt, which I'm going to read about, and I'm going to just overlay it with some interesting nuggets around how not just the actual story itself, but how we can improve and just some strategies when it comes to our own writing. Because biographies, I think, are always an interesting. It's always an interesting way to put more information out, share more about yourself with the world. And I do think that many more global leaders and women especially should consider sharing their stories using this avenue. So I want to then start with the excerpt here, and the title here says, Queen Camilla told her friend that Meghan Markle brainwashed Prince Harry, new book claims. Queen Camilla told a friend that Meghan Markle had brainwashed Prince Harry as the bitter feud between the Sussexes and the rest of the royal family deepened, a new book claims. In a dramatic account of the breakdown in relations, author Tom Barr claims tensions were already spiraling just weeks after Harry and Meghan returned from their honeymoon in the summer of 2018. The book alleges that a supposedly conciliatory tea time meeting between Harry and his brother culminated in Meghan snapping at Prince William. If you don't mind, get your finger out of my face. The clash came amid mounting concern within the royal family that Harry was changing under Meghan's influence, even swapping his mobile phone number in secret. Meghan's brainwashed Harry, Camilla is said to have said to a friend as the dispute intensified. The remark allegedly reflected fears within the family that the once carefree prince had become estranged from his relatives and his life had led. Let me read that again. The remark allegedly reflected fears within the family that the once carefree prince had become estranged from his relatives and the life he had led before meeting Suits actress Meghan Markle. William had harbored doubts about Meghan long before the couple's wedding, warning Harry that the relationship was moving too fast, it claimed. It's gone too quickly, the future king is said to have told his younger brother about his budding romance. His misgivings were reportedly shared by William's wife, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who Barr claims was also wary of Meghan's influence. According to the book, serialized in the Times, both William and Kate believed Harry, who had struggled following the death of his mother Diana, had drink, drugs, and mental health was particularly vulnerable. While Meghan's ambition captivated Harry, the family regarded her as a potential destabilizing force. The author claims that William and Catherine suspected Meghan was unhappy about the limits of Harry's future within the monarchy and regretted the fact that she would probably never become queen. Instead of accepting the traditional role of the royal spare, Harry pushed back against palace control and distanced himself from the old circle of friends. The prince, who had been known for his boisterous, boozy, fun-loving ways, became possessed by seeking revenge, Bauer writes. Since the Sussexes would quit royal life and moved to California in 2020, they have become isolated from Britain, while Meghan has focused on building a commercial brand in the United States. At a recent Netflix event promoting its upcoming shows, Meghan's new lifestyle series with Love Meghan reportedly failed to receive a mention from the streaming giant's head of content. Bauer also recounts how the couple attempted to boost their public image during devastating wildfires in California by visiting a Pasadena soup kitchen and sharing footage of the trip on social media. But critics accused them of staging a publicity stunt, with Hollywood filmmaker Justine Bateman branding the couple ambulance chasers and disaster tourists. Harry reportedly hopes that his father, Prince Charles, will open the 2027 Invictus Games, the international sporting event for wounded veterans he founded in 2014, which is due to take place in Birmingham. But with the family still deeply strained, Bauer suggests a reconciliation remains unlikely. So I want to just pause there before I read the last 3 paragraphs. So these are very sort of interesting nuggets which Bauer is throwing at us, right? And you can see, for example, in terms of his writing style, he does have a lot of information which is not available in the public domain, but does make clear or provide interesting insight into the sort of public the public sort of controversy that we see around Meghan and Harry. And also, I think, to me, this issue of Birmingham and the theme around Birmingham and the charity with the Invictus Games, it's also for me an interesting cliffhanger, because Birmingham is a city that has a lot of controversy at the moment, so we don't even know whether that's going to happen. Yes, I might have seen headlines around, Meghan also being presented in not the best light, and I did hear about her Netflix series and how it was recently cancelled because it didn't do too well in the viewing polls, and so this is indeed very interesting, and I think it's also fantastic insight into the goings on between the Kensington Palace and the House of Sussex. And then how can we forget the the whole dynamic with Prince Andrew and the way that recent developments that have come to light around some of his misgivings and being stripped of his title. So I wonder how Bauer will sort of weave all of this together, because I'm sure if Harry, I wonder how Harry sort of views William's decision, William, William and the father's decision to strip the uncle of his title. And I wonder if Harry is worried about how that will impact him, specifically him and his wife, and what will the aftermath of that be, because there is a generational issue that we are dealing with, because there's Kensington Palace, where we have the King William and his wife Camilla, and then we have Harry, who is not Harry, I'm sorry, we have William and his wife, who is next in line of succession, so he will definitely become king. So this is the Kensington Palace, and then we have the House of York, of which Prince Andrew, well, now he's known as Prince Andrew Mountbatten or something like that, and so he's been stripped of his title. His wife has been told, rather his ex-wife was told, that the royal family will no longer take responsibility for her. But then the daughters, Princess Eugenie and Beatrice, who qualify for royal benefits and what have you, because as I understand it, they reside within Kensington Palace, and they haven't been stripped of their titles as far as I know. So that's then the House of York, and then you have the House of Sussex, where you have Meghan and Prince Harry and their children, which are Lilibet and Archie. So it's an interesting sort of triage, that you have going on there, and I would love to see how that pans out. So just to then continue, but the family is still deeply strained. Bauer suggests such a reconciliation remains unlikely. A spokesperson for Harry and Meghan said, "This is someone who has publicly stated the monarchy, in fact, depends on actually obliterating the Sussexes from our state of life." That language speaks for itself. So just pausing there, this is a response now from the House of Sussex, in other words, Meghan and Harry, who are, of course, in response to Bauer's upcoming book release. And they go on to say he has made a career out of reconstructing, or rather, let me read this again. So he has made a career out of constructing ever more elaborate theories about people he does not know and has never met. Those interested in facts will know to look elsewhere, and those seeking deranged conspiracies and melodrama know exactly where to find him. And this is where the article ends. And so there you could, we got a nice taste of just excerpt one from Bauer's upcoming book, and we have obvious pushback from the Sussexes. So I will continue on to excerpt number 2 in the next one. So I will see you there.